The time is 12:03, and you're tuned into the mid-morning talk with me, Fazila Isaac, on Salam Media. We are now joined by two beautiful, phenomenal women who are doing such great work out there. We are joined by Muniba Bayat, who is the founder of DARE, as well as the Supreme Queen Global Earth Africa semi-finalist 2022, Miss Linda Shazy. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Hi.
All right, let's start with just some brief introductions. We'll start with Muniba. Just tell us a bit about yourself.
All right. I'm obviously the founder of There, mom of three daughters. I mean, two daughters with a son, and have four beautiful grandchildren. So that's obviously my personal life. Just had an amazing journey of working together with the company for many years. And through that journey, I actually found out about the plight of the young girl child, and that's how I started off daily. So that's just a little background of myself and how I actually got about going to find out more about the girl child that can't afford pads and starting a company that develops ambitious, resilient entrepreneurs. Work that we do, as well as do menstrual health education for the young girl child at school, and then obviously funding that I do for giving and making sure that all our young children, or at least the 4 million young women that can't afford pads, actually get a set of our washable pads that last for 4 years.
Brilliant. Linda, tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. So my name is Linda Shazy. I am the semi-finalist for Supreme Queen Global Earth Africa 2022. And I also work as a production accountant for Komora season 3. Season 3, that's correct, on Zanzi Magic, channel 161. So I've started as part of my journey as Supreme Queen Global Earth semi-finalist. We do charity and we go around different schools motivating young girls. And I've been just going around telling my story, my experience. And it's so much in line with what the Day Foundation does. And I'm so glad that our paths crossed because when I was a 15-year-old girl going through what I was going through, it would have made a world of difference in my life. That late, they are still making such a difference in the lives of many, many young people, and it's been an honor to partner with them on the previous journey that we did together.
Great stuff. So let's start with Muniba. Tell us about the organization. I know you told us some of the things that you guys are doing, some of the projects that you do. Let's get into that. So your role, of course, is the founder. You know, you have a team that you work with as well. What are some of the challenges that you have found to be prevalent in South Africa, especially?
All right. Well, being a founder of DARE, one is that it obviously came about because we saw the need. One, I saw a huge need to empower people, to actually give people that were unemployed a job opportunity. And then obviously looking at the girl child not being able to afford the pads. So one of the challenges I kind of, had initially come across was where people still didn't understand what the problem in South Africa was. Obviously it's a global issue, but the fact that we have so much of poverty in South Africa, it's for me and you that live in a sort of a more affluent area. When you tell people that the young girl child can't afford pads and that we have a washable pad that they can use, the first question is from a hygienic point of view, how sustainable is it? Is it good for people to be able to use this? But I think, if you had to work in the field that I do, and I think Linda will add a little bit more to this, is that when you work in areas and rural areas or very poor areas, for a young girl child that can't afford to buy disposable pads, if you give her a washable pad, even if people would think, how would you wash it? How would you keep it clean? It's amazing how they actually do. They take care of that pack of pads that you give them. They make sure that they wash it, they reuse it, because they know that that's one of the options they have to actually finish off their high school education. Those are just one of the challenges that I have. And obviously the other challenge that we normally would have is that very often people don't see the need we find that when you tell them that you need funding to continue the sustainability of projects like this, where it's sanitary pads, people find it very difficult to still first come on board, because initially they'll say, but isn't it more important for us to feed the families that need a feeding? But then if you look at your sanitary pads, that's also a very, very important, basic necessity of a young girl child. Because if we're wanting our young girl children to be educated, to finish off their high school life, to be able to go and look at whether it's STEM courses or whether they finish high school and get into university for a degree, the important thing is to have those sanitary pads, because that is actually fundamental in terms of her needs and her necessities in a growing young child.
So
So
it
those are
has taken,
the important challenges that I kind of come across often. From
yeah.
a girl child perspective, when I share the washable pad to them, I have no challenges with them. They love the concept, they love the fact that they have the pack of pads, and that really works really well for them. And we do have feedback. We don't just give the washable pads and don't go back to the young girl child. We go back and check on them, see that they are using it. If there was any improvement that we needed to do on the pads, they would give us feedback, and that's how we improved our pad from a basic 3-layer to a 4-layer pad now.
I love the fact that you're not just doing these projects and assisting these young girls, but you're actually making sure that they get the best of what is out there, as opposed to just giving them a sanitary pad and being like, okay, this is it, this is what we have, use it. I love that you are getting that feedback, making sure that it's something that is going to be sustainable as well. What have you seen as being the biggest impact in these young girls that are receiving the packs from the sanitary pad project that you have?
Okay, so I think for me, the biggest impact is having to to have the opportunity to go back to a school or areas of handouts. And then to go back the next year, and when they come up and they meet you and they greet you and they're like, thank you, ma'am, that was the best gift we've ever received. Today we can actually use those pads. We come to school, we're writing exams, we're not ashamed, we have dignity. So for me, the impact of having to give that young girl child that dignity that she so deserves. And also, young women that are in university and in a working environment that can't afford pads. So, we don't just only give out to young girl children at school, we've also handed out to women that are working, that couldn't afford pads. So I think for me, the impact of just knowing that our pad is being used and it gives them hope and the dignity to have a better future.
Alhamdulillah. So, half of the population we know they do menstruate, right? So obviously everyone goes through that. All the females, they do go through these things, and we know a lot of young girls who, they are not able to afford these things. They struggle to purchase these
Yeah.
necessary supplies. And this is something that we call, or is termed, period poverty. So I'd like to touch on that, but we're going to take a quick ad break. But I'd like to get Linda's take on this and her experience when it comes to this as well. So we'll be back shortly after the break.
Thank you.
Types, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
For every child who lost a parent.
For every refugee who lost their home.
For every community without water.
For every person searching for a way to give, Africa Muslims Agency has been at your service for 35 years, connecting hearts and changing lives. Thank you for helping us to serve the needy since 1987. Support our journey by donating to Africa Muslims Agency as we commemorate 35 years of empowering, educating, and inspiring.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Essenwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Hunger ratios in South Africa are on an upward trajectory since the beginning of COVID-19. Over 23% of South African households experienced hunger last summer. At SANZAF, we aim to ease the hunger struggles of those in need by providing freshly prepared meals daily. You can be part of this by donating towards the SANZAF Meals Project. Visit sanzaf.org.za or call us on 011 834 6046. SANZAF, changing lives through development and relief.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
The time has hit 12:14, and you're tuned into the Mid-Morning Talk with me, Fazila Isaac. Joining us, we have Muniba Bayat as well as Linda Shezi. So we were speaking to Linda. We're just going to get some insights into period poverty. You know, what does it mean, and what was your experience with this as well?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I first just want to touch a little bit on what Muniba just said, because that is a very much relevant question where people say, why should we focus more on giving pads instead of giving food? Because we should be feeding people. And I just want to say, if I were to go back at the time when I was 15 with my experience, and then somebody gave me an option to say, what should I do right now? Should I give you food or should I give you a pad? I would have preferred a pad, because that would have, with the pad, I would still go to school, still keep my dignity. And when I'm at school, I mean, there'll always be other children that are there to help me, and we share. Kids in school share. And when you are hungry, yes, you are hungry, and yes, it does affect a whole lot of stuff that you do. However, it does not put you to shame in front of everybody. But not having a pad and having a dress messed up because you did not have a pad puts you into shame in front of everybody, and that's something very hard to recover from as a girl child. So I just wanted to touch back on that, because that's really did resonate with me, and also that for me, it really is such an honor to work with the Day Foundation, because for me it makes sense, in a sense that not only do they worry about the sanitary issue, which is a very, very major issue, but they're also tackling one of the most important issues that we deal with as a country, and it's a global issue, which is unemployment. So they're creating employment because they've got sections where people actually work and sew and make these things, and those families get income and have something to eat for their families. I just wanted to share that. So back to my experience. When we went to the Iman Foundation for the Orphanage for Girls in Lenasia, I said, before I did my talk, I said, for the first time, I'm able to share the story without crying and share it. That means then I have healed, and I feel that right now that I'm able to share my story. And yes, there are still emotions, because I'm still healing from that. It's a journey, but I am healed, and every time I share the story with young girls, and every time I go out there and share my story, I know that it heals and it helps other young girls. So when I was 15 years old, I lived in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal, in an area called Northdale, which is a predominantly Indian neighborhood. And then just above that, there's a lot of squatter camps, and that's where I lived. I lived in a squatter camp, and I lived alone at the age of 15. My mom was in Johannesburg as a domestic worker. My dad was in prison. So I lived alone, and I had to work. I worked as a domestic worker. to try and make ends meet. I would walk around the streets of Northdale and ask if somebody has washing. Then they will give me washing and they'll pay me 10 rand. And with that 10 rand, I would be able to go and buy something to eat. And obviously, when you are trying and you're a child, and sometimes your priorities aren't straight, you will get something to eat and you will buy some sweets. You will forget about your toiletries. You will forget about sanitary pads. You will forget because you're 15. You're 15, so you're not going to think as an adult. Um, so this one day, I'm in class, and as a child, I was somebody who is very active, very talkative, and as a result, I used to sit right in front of the teacher because then I'm right in front. I'm not at the back causing the problems at the back of the class. And I used to wear a white uniform and white pants. A friend of mine who was Muslim back then borrowed me. Actually, she started by borrowing it to me, and then I ended up keeping them. And I would wear my white uniform and I would wear my Muslim white pants underneath. But on this particular day, I wasn't wearing my Muslim pants. I was just wearing my white tunic, which is my uniform for Northbury High School in Pietermaritzburg. And I sat and I did not. I had no clue that I was having my period. And the teacher asked a question. I stood up, and boom! As I stood up, there was this map of Africa in red. I had missed my uniform with red blood at the back. And I'm sitting right in front. I'm the most talkative kid in class, and everybody just laughed. The boys laughed. Everybody just laughed. And right there and then, I wish that somebody could dig a big hole and just shove me in there to a point of no return. So the teachers took me to the office so that they could help me out. So I went there and they tried to wash it, but obviously the blood stain is quite stubborn when it comes to a white uniform. It's quite stubborn, but I was helped. And for the day, I was given a pad, a sanitary pad, a disposable one that I was able to take home so that I can sort myself out. But they did not know that I'm a child who live alone in a squatter camp who will come back the following day with the very same issue. So when I came to school the following day, I went to the bathroom. I took toilet paper and I wrapped it up until it was really quite thin, and I used that as a pad. And I went, and it seemed like day two seemed like everything was going well until it was lunch break. Lunch break, a friend of mine gave me 50 cents, and back then you could buy diddle daddles for 50 cents. And I went to stand in a queue because I'm now going to buy myself diddle daddles for lunch because I didn't even have money. So my friend would help me out here and there. So our tuck shop, there was like a little stage that you would step on when you go to the tuck shop. And as I put my foot up to go into the tuck shop, the toilet paper fell right down, and the whole thing fell on the floor with the blood, and everybody knew that that toilet paper fell from me. I was shattered. I was broken. I did not know what to do, what to say. Now I did not only have the children in my class laugh at me, I had the entire school from all different grades, everybody who was in that queue to buy something for lunch saw that that blood toilet paper full of blood came from me. I had to pick that up and go in the bathroom and go to the office and try and find a pad. So for me, recovering from that was a journey that I think a part of me sort of like hid it and tucked it away. But when I started this journey with Supreme Queen Global in Africa and started sharing my story with young people, I realized that it still somewhere hurt. And I had to tell my story up until a point where it doesn't hurt no more. It's actually empowering people. And I was able to somehow bounce from that, pretend like nothing ever happened. Yes, they still laugh at me. Yes, it was still something that I was known for. The girl who had the map of Africa. I was called different words, but I was still able. I mean, I had experienced more. I was living alone in a shelter. I was putting my own food on the table. I did not have clothes to wear. Every time there was like a dress up day at school, my friends will share their clothes. They will actually talk among themselves who's borrowing her shoes, who's borrowing her top, and all of that. So for me, that experience was just another thing that I needed to have enough resilience to recover from. And I'm so glad that I was able to go through that, because today I'm able to share the same story with other children who are going through the same thing. But not only that, but I'm able to share the same story with the solution, which is Day Foundation, to say, listen, this is what I went through. Had I had a washable pad that day, if our school office had a washable pad that day, I would have gone home, came back the following day, and the whole tuck shop and the tissue with blood would not have happened. So, as where I am from at this point in time, I believe that each and every school should have a Day Foundation stash somewhere for kids, because some kids won't tell you exactly what they're going through, and you will know. But you can give them a disposable if you want, but always give them a pack of Day Foundation pads that they'll be able to take home, wash, and make sure that they still can be able to keep their dignity intact.
Well, I
Thank you.
am sitting here in awe of everything that you just spoke on. Like I
Yeah,
am amazed. It would take such an experience, and some people it would totally break them. Yet you've taken that and you've actually made that the driving force to becoming who you are now. And
yeah,
I must commend you on that. You are truly an inspiration. Absolutely, absolutely an inspiration. And coming back to the Dare Foundation as well, I can see how a foundation like that is actually beneficial, especially when people are going through what you've just mentioned.
yeah.
We've had a lot, and especially in Durban, like you said, the uniform is white. You can get away in
Yes.
Johannesburg. People
Yeah.
wear different colors in Johannesburg, but like we all grew up only wearing these white uniforms at every
Yeah.
single school, and the only differentiating factor was your tie to show which school you are from.
Yes, yes, the
So
belt, yes. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So like you said, having a Dare Foundation pack is so key at this point.
Yeah.
Even having the foundation itself, I feel like it couldn't have come at a better time. Hey, it
Yeah.
really could not have come at a better time. Um, Muniba, this work Linda has just said it all. The impact that your organization is having and should be having on South Africans,
Yeah.
young girls, giving the dignity and the comfort that comes with this. I mean, not everybody is comfortable with speaking about, their periods,
Yeah.
getting this menstruation. It's not an easy thing, just as Linda touched on it. Before she was crying, but now she's using the story to encourage others. She's using it for good, for the benefit of people. So wow, I'm just amazed. It's so nice to have women who are so
Thank you.
it's really
Thank
really great.
you.
The both of you are really really people to look up to. Hey, absolutely. Having to keep a foundation like this running, um what do you require, Muniba, to actually reach your full potential as an organization like this?
Okay. So, what Linda has just said is so impactful. It always makes me very emotional because, Linda, I mean, you know that we go and see this every single day in our schools, and that it's humbling when you see these young girls and you see the tears in their eyes. They are so grateful for this. So, yeah, I think, the impact of what we do is amazing, but also having women like Linda talk about their stories. It's so important because this is what we need is the ambassadors of women like Linda and people that have been through similar challenges like she has to come forward and tell people what it is to have gone through that so that we can stop that cycle of being embarrassed. Other thing that I do feel that people could really get involved in, we do a huge amount of menstrual health education when we go into schools. So we're always looking for volunteers and funders that can support and assist us. Funders are one where they come in and they help us with funding, but the very same funders could become our volunteers. And the more women we have out there as our soldiers, going to schools, going to corporates, going to organizations, and talking about this and helping us to make people more aware of what the issues are, will definitely get us to where we want to. Since COVID, I have set up 12 skill centers across different provinces in South Africa, where employed are now earning income from this. So, that is another thing that we really, really try and push out there all the time. We cover 13 of the 17 UN global, sustainable solutions to eliminate poverty by the year 2030. So we're working, consistently with communities, with rural areas, with people that are linked to other organizations that are doing amazing stuff in communities, and training people to actually start sewing the pads. Because my ultimate plan and vision is to make sure that every geographic area that we put our foot into, or that we work in, the sewing center, where they manufacture pads for their generation, the funding they get for their areas is utilized in their areas in uplifting people and then the government.
Great stuff. So, how can one make contact with you in order to donate or become volunteers?
Okay, so if people want, they're most welcome to email my cell phone, or go onto our website. We also have a Facebook page, so they could always leave a message and a comment there. I'm quite happy to share my cell phone number, and I mean, if anybody wants to contact Salam Media as well for my contact numbers, they're most welcome to do that. My cell phone number is 082 779 5090, and our website is www dare to be it's .co.za.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really, really enlightening. It was nice having, what the foundation is doing, and then also getting someone who has been getting, who comes from this, and who knows and understands the importance of having a foundation like yours. Linda's story shows us the other side of having a foundation
Yeah.
like the Dare to Be Foundation. So I'd like to really, really thank the both of you for joining us today. It's
Thank
been an
you.
absolute pleasure having you guys on. Continue to inspire people, continue the great work that you are doing.
And I think,
Thank you.
Linda, it would be so great if you could share your number in mine, because it's also
Yes.
so good when people kind of get involved in your cause, because you're doing some amazing stuff as an ambassador, and and the fact that you have come this far is really great as well. So it would be so great if you could share your number as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. My number is 061 548 2450. I'm also on social media, and Instagram is Linda Shezi. If you would like to follow my Supreme Queen Global Earth 22 journey and support, please do. There's voting lines that are still open. There's also funding and sponsorship to sponsor my journey. I do believe that this platform is empowering me to be able to reach to more young ladies, because when I see them and they look at me, they can see themselves to say, okay, I am here right now, but if this is where she was once upon a time and this is where she is right now, that means that I can also do it. So I really appreciate all the sponsor and all the help that I can get. And thank you so much, Salam Media, for having me. And thank you, Maniba. I mean, it was just love at first sight when I met when I started working with the Day Foundation, because they really truly are working for the cause that I truly believe in. And if I can say, just share, it won't be long, a conversation that I had with my kids as I was as I was driving them to school today, and talking about this interview, and they're asking me, so mommy, what is this interview about? What are you feeling about it? And so, and I said to them, this interview has just made me realize something, reminded me of something that I think really our government need to step in at a bigger scale. So when I was in my 20s, early 20s, one of my first job, and I worked with, it was Komanani, the HIV and AIDS drive back in the day. And I was creating awareness. And what my job was back then was to find 2 places in each and every province and hire 2 people and give them 100 choice condoms to distribute for free. But I'll pay, they distribute them for free, but I pay the person doing that. So I had to phone around Durban, Limpopo, Cape Town, everywhere, find 2 people from 2 different places I will pay 2,000 just for one day, and they must each make sure that they have distributed 100 pack of choice condoms. So I said to my children, the reason I'm sharing with you this is because if back then The government, as much as they were sharing condoms, they say we are sharing reusable pads. We are going to each and every province and we are finding people. We are saying here, we will give 100 day foundation pads that will actually be able to assist young girls, not only for boys. That would have made an impact. As it would have made it then, it can still make that impact now. And as you can, as Maniba said, that she has 12 centers, skill centers all over. Even in those provinces, skill centers will be there and employment will be created. So I feel like that was relevant. It was always a question mark for me back then. It's still a question mark right now to appeal to our government to say, we have organizations like the Dare to Be Foundation that are making such a huge impact. Let's back them up. Let's empower them, because they're not only empowering our young girls, but they're also empowering society in terms of skills development and employment.
Good.
Thank
I
you.
couldn't have said it any better. That was brilliantly said. Thank you so much to the two of you. It's
Thank
been
you.
a real pleasure, and all the best with every project and everything that you guys have going forward.
Thank you so
I've been
much.
learning. I've been learning. So can I say my thank yous and goodbye? Dr.
Of
Fahima has been teaching
course.
me.
Of course.
Dr. Fahima has been teaching me. So let's hope I say I've been practicing.
Let's
Assalamu
go for it.
alaikum. Just like
Oh, alaikum salam.
Well done, Linda. Thank you, and assalamu alaikum from myself as well.
Wa alaikum
thank
salam
you.
wa rahmatullah. That was Muniba Bayat and Linda Shazy, who shared with us the Dear Foundation and the phenomenal work that they've been doing. So we're going to take our ad break now, 12:34, and when we come back, it's our journey to Islam. Stay tuned.